I'm like so small. I'm like decapitated. So thank you for joining us.
Of
Thanks
course, my pleasure.
for logging in. For those of you that don't know, Madison actually does a yoga class for us on Thursday evenings at 6. And I don't know about you, but I had no clue that Madison Hubbell did yoga.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I haven't put it out there too much. So it's been a pleasure, getting started with you guys and teaching that weekly class. And I teach other privates here and there, but yeah.
We appreciate having you. And what was your introduction to yoga? So, because I'm sure your schedule's super busy with training for skating.
Yeah, right. Definitely it is. Actually, I've of course been introduced to yoga through the years. I remember some other skaters going to classes and I would tag along, or there's kind of that craze with a lot of skaters maybe like 10 years ago for Bikram yoga. I wasn't much a fan of the heat, to be honest. And then when my brother actually quit skating, he got really involved in yoga. So that was in about 2011. And he really fell in love with it. And so he became a teacher at that point. And so kind of through those next 10 years, I would take classes with him, and more so when I was in Detroit. And then when I moved here, I never really found a studio, and it was kind of something on the back burner. As you said, it's like difficult, I think, to fit yet another thing into my schedule. But that's actually something great that came out of this time off last year, which was that we kind of learned how accessible Zoom is and how able you are to add things into your training, even in your own house. And so we started doing yoga with actually our skating school, and Kiefer was teaching us. And that reignited my passion. And it was actually another skater, Alaj Balde, who originally said, I'm really interested. Kiefer, could you train us and give us our certification? And Kiefer was like, you should definitely get in on this. And I'm so happy I did, because it went from like something that I just enjoyed doing as a aid to my skating, and it became something completely different, and definitely a more all-encompassing practice. So
Yeah, Bikram yoga. So I'm an adult skater. I started because I hate the heat. So
you're right. So Bikram is not for you.
no.
Yeah.
So you don't like Bikram. What is your favorite style of yoga, and what style of yoga do you use in your classes?
Yes. So I use Hatha yoga. And, yoga already is like an 8-limb system. So there's the asana, which are the poses, which is more what your typical yoga class would be, no matter what style. There's dozens of styles at this point. And they all kind of have overlap. And meditation, and all these different sides of yoga you don't maybe see as much if you aren't dedicated to your own personal practice. But I'm lucky enough that Kiefer is very interested in many forms of yoga, so when I'm craving something different, I still can go and ask him for a class.
So what does yoga mean in your daily life? Do you do it every day, or?
Yeah, I think that's something that I learned during teacher training, which was when I was doing yoga as like yet another thing to put into my day to be fit or for a specific goal, I found that it was kind of tiring. Like we were already training so much. The physical practice of yoga, while it's great, to add yet another thing on as an athlete felt like another pressure, another way that I had to perform. And by going through the training, I realized that yoga is a lot more simple than that in many ways. Like yoga and the poses are all to get you to this place where you can find a quiet mind. And I didn't really understand how you could manipulate your practice from day to day. So on a day like today, like I trained from morning until 4:30 and did a lot of strenuous things and lift class and a heavy workout, and my body is so sore that the thought of doing asana today is like way too much. But really learning that like just doing some breathing exercises or doing a shavasana and meditating, like that is also practice, and learning that yoga could be a place that it's intuitive and I could just like take my energy inward and really honor however I'm feeling that day and whatever I feel like I need, and still find that like me time. Really allowed me to find that daily practice, even if it's 5 minutes. And that, I think that's something very healthy for an athlete who's always trying to perform a specific goal. It's just a place where you can be free to be where you are that day.
And so I guess when you skate, how do you think it's specific to figure skating? Like, how can figure skaters benefit from it? Like, you know, they take stretch, they do all the conditioning, all the jumps and off ice.
Yeah. Well, I think that one of the big parts that I really love is that yoga as a foundation is built around the breath. So I'm sure that you've all, like you as an adult skater, have experienced this, that yes, of course, we're trying to be so strong and you're trying to perform and you're trying to do all of these things, and breathing at the same time that you're maintaining these postures is very challenging. And sometimes the stuff that we do in the gym, while it does build strength, it's a different type of strength. Searching for the frame. Yeah, so I think that like these postures that require a lot of range of motion while still holding your body, while showing strength and elasticity and pushing yourself to kind of move with the natural pattern of your breath, has really helped me personally. And I know that the people that I've worked with, we've kind of worked on applying that into their skating so that they can find those moments to just relax and breathe and it just quiet their mind. That's exactly what yoga is. In all the chaos and all of what's going on, just being able to be present to, you know, exactly your surroundings. So.
Yeah, it's also hard to focus, as you can see. They're trying to put me in frame.
For the perfect angle.
I guess they forgot that I was really short. Yeah, now we're good. Oh. So what was your first yoga class? Was it a class with Keith or no?
No. I mean, my first yoga class actually, I mean, it wasn't a formal class, but I don't know how my mom ended up doing yoga when we were when I was very young, maybe like 6 or 7. And I remember she used to have us do sun salutations in the morning. So that was like probably my absolute first introduction to yoga. And I don't think I even knew what it was. I just knew the name sun salutation. But my first formal class was in Ann Arbor with some other skaters. And like I said, at the beginning, I can't say that I enjoyed it at first, because I felt like, maybe also because I was going with other skaters at the beginning, and like, I want to be the best, you know, it was like yet another thing to be the best at. And I'll say at the beginning also with Kiefer's very flexible. My brother is, I mean, wow, he can do some amazing poses. And he was doing yoga every day for like 5 hours a day. And then I would jump in this class and I would be like, why can he do that pose and I can't do that pose? And over time, and also like when I really decided to commit to yoga and start learning about the philosophy behind it, was the moment that I can say that I did yoga for the first time. Even though I was doing those poses, I was just replicating the posture. So I think it is important to have a teacher that kind of emphasizes being in your own body. And somehow I think doing yoga and doing classes online in the comfort of your own home actually lends itself to maybe having a more yogic experience, because you don't maybe feel judged. You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want to. You just move how you want to move. If you need to lay in child's pose for a few minutes, you can. So I think like that's a very welcoming way actually to experience it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been kind of dabbling in yoga for most of my life.
Okay. And yeah, I was going to ask how you feel about doing it over Zoom and the whole virtual
Yeah.
experience, because I know, so I went to a very strange high school. We didn't have any sports, but we had yoga. So that was, but it was all very kind of natural and organic. But Zoom and technology
Yeah.
isn't always, but the points that you bring up are really interesting.
Yeah. I think, luckily we're all very used to it at this point. So that does help kind of take that initial anxiety away from it. We're doing Zoom every day, all day at this point. We're pretty used to it. But otherwise, I would say, yeah, it's different. I remember when I would go to the class, especially because it was my brother, so we were very comfortable with each other. There were times where maybe you could get an adjustment actually by touching, or you're in Shavasana and they put on like the lavender scent, or, it was a little bit more atmospheric. But I also would, suggest that you can even create a better atmosphere at home, because if you have a scent that you like, or a candle that you like, or music that you would like to play in the background, you can kind of create your own practicing space. And that is something that they do suggest in yoga, is to kind of have that ritualistic place and way of practicing. So when you go into a room and it smells a certain way, or the lights are lower, it's easier to get into the practice, get on the mat, and just let everything else go. But certainly I'm looking forward to kind of building upon my teacher training when I can teach in person. I would also like to do more extensive like continued education and more hours of teacher training in person, when I can really get those adjustments and just experience doing a class altogether. There's something special about that.
Well, I'm looking forward to doing your classes every week, and especially now that the weather's nicer and I have a backyard, I can
To do
actually
it
go
outside.
outside.
Yeah, that's
That
lovely.
that's why I said to Kristen and Igor, I said, we need to have a yoga class, like morning sunrise yoga,
Oh,
sunset
wonderful.
yoga,
Yeah, for sure.
and it's great. Like then, you can take your class live or have the video on hand, put it on in the morning, and it's great. So you were saying you want to do more teaching. I guess you are already certified in
Yes.
yoga. And what made you decide to go for certification? Just the downtime, the lockdown, and being with your
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, of course. Like, so many good things came from it that I didn't necessarily feel like I was missing. I'm somebody that doesn't always sit on the phone and communicate with my loved ones, but like obviously to spend 20 hours a week in class with Kiefer was amazing. And for me, he's like my guru. So, it was a very enlightening experience to spend that much time gaining wisdom from him. But yeah, I think it was just, for once, I felt like I didn't have to prioritize my on ice time, because there was no ice time to be had, right? So it actually overlapped with when we got back on the ice, and I was totally able to manage that. But when we first initially decided to jump into the training, I think it was in like just about a year ago now, end of April. And we knew that it was going to take around 3.5 months. And we didn't know if we would have ice. And eventually in June, we went back on the ice, and I was juggling those two things. It was a 200-hour teacher training. And so you study, some yoga anatomy and the philosophy and the poses and breathing patterns and all of those things. And we do a lot of practice guided by Kiefer. But, it wasn't in person. And even Kiefer, like, he has his certification, and then every year he would go to his guru and do more hours. And I think it would be so special too to go on a trip somewhere and have a week or 2 weeks with Kiefer where you're just on vacation, but a vacation that's meant to just every day be practicing your yoga. And so I would always like to add on, and I think you can learn something new from every teacher that you encounter. So I think it will be a lifelong endeavor of learning.
What was your most like inspirational moment, do you think, as being a yoga student?
Oh man, I think there's just these magical moments that when you really commit, and it is a practice, right? It's something that you have to really commit yourself to doing and doing on a regular enough basis that you see those improvements. As I said, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. And for somebody like me who's always overthinking and has a lot of stuff on my mind, and I'm again thinking of like, I have to really quiet my mind and be like, it doesn't matter what it looks like, or it doesn't matter how you think the pose is going or how your practice went. And I just remember there was a moment where we were doing a meditation and I had never really found that perfect balance. I mean, it's so hard to find the balance of being focused, fully in the moment, but literally thinking of nothing. You have no sensation of your body. Like, it's really that, like, head floating. There's nothing that matters except, I don't know. It's like so hard to describe, but the amount of like peace, and I mean, it's just something really incredible to quiet your mind to that extent. And so I think the first time that I really felt like the ease of just like dropping into the moment and just existing there and not really feeling pain or not feeling anxious, not feeling like, it was really incredible. So those moments are fleeting. That's what we practice for, and it happens every once in a while. And I think once maybe you get to the guru and you're 85 years old, maybe you can drop into it. I hope you can just drop into it like that. But I think it takes a lot of work and commitment.
Yeah, well, and then to take that moment and then transfer it onto the ice.
Yes.
And be like, oh, and just enjoy your dance. Like, I know probably for many skaters that are practicing every day, that's the biggest thing, is like, how do I just enjoy the glide?
Yeah.
You know, and I think if you just enjoy the breath, enjoy the moment in yoga, and try to think about that, maybe it would transfer over. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can
No,
hope.
absolutely.
And for how long have you been teaching?
Yeah, well, I mean, I started teaching some classes here and there, I guess about a year ago. And it's been, I think, like 6 months that I'm teaching multiple times a week, every week. So it's relatively new, I would say. I would like to teach more. I think it would be great to teach some of the skaters. But again, here in Quebec, there are a lot of rules, even if it's to be outside with friends. And we definitely don't want to be in trouble for being, gathering outside, even if it's 6 feet away. So we're playing it very, very safe. But hopefully I'll just continue to teach more. And after the Olympics, maybe when I can really teach in a studio, that would be something special.
Do you think you've had an opportunity yet as a teacher to like have like one moment be an inspirational moment while teaching so far?
Well, I actually
our classes, right? Obviously.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I mean, like, I think there's something really special about teaching. And there was always these moments in class when I was taking the classes from Kiefer, where I was just baffled by his strength and his ability to teach and give cues at the same time that he was flowing with us. And I really liked that he was always doing the flow, but I was like, aren't his legs burning? Like, I'm trying to be in the moment, but I'm just thinking, is he really going to hold this for another breath? And like, isn't he in pain like we are? And then when I started teaching and I started finding that flow, it teaches you something really special about the intention. And so kind of the same way that I find, sometimes you don't feel like doing something, but you would do it for someone you loved. When you really care about teaching and you care about trying to share something or share knowledge, I find that I also I'm teaching, and because I really want to relay the information, I want to show it the best way that I can, and I want to do it. It makes the practice easier for me in a way, because I'm doing it to serve another person. So I think that was kind of my aha moment, and it made me, realize why Kiefer can teach 3-4 hours of yoga in a day. And that's, I think, an important life lesson too. Like, of course, you have to do things for yourself, and you have to do, but when you're in service of others and when you're doing things for the people around you, it can really lighten the load. And that goes on the ice too. Like, that's something that I can use with Zach and with my coaches and with like all of those relationships. It's not always easy to bring myself to the rink when I'm exhausted or push through or run through, but it's a little bit easier when you're trying to give your best example to the people around you.
Yeah, I would think that there would be a lot of selflessness involved in ice dance.
Yeah, right.
So is there anything else that you would like to add? Or so this is my first time doing Instagram Live, and I see people kind of writing hi and hi from
Hi from
Ecuador.
Ecuador. Hola, estoy bien. Practicando mi español. Yeah, no, I mean, other than just, I think that there is something really interesting in yoga. I think the thing that I like is that it's really, as you say, like on the class description, it's beginner level, and you'll see that written in many places, because you might go to, like, say there's a style called Ashtanga yoga, and it's a very intense practice, and it's very physically demanding, and there are definitely some classes that if you've never done yoga, maybe that's not the one to go to. But otherwise, I think that yoga is such an interesting practice because it's one of those things where the most basic movements are still the fundamentals that you're doing every day. And I think that that kind of really is reflected in skating too. I mean, I've skated for 20 plus years. Oh my gosh, 20 plus years. And I'm still working on forward stroking. I'm still working on that ritual of the basics. And so I think that, while the classes with very approachable poses and approachable things, it's as intense and as demanding as you might want to push yourself to. So I think that's something, as I said, is really cool about yoga. And if you start practicing, you start recognizing the poses, it's something that you can do in your warm-up. It's something you can do at the end of the day. And it really can kind of center you in the moment, give you a ritualistic routine that kind of just like calms you down, lets everything else float away. And that's something I think we could all use, not just at this time, but throughout our lives. So boat pose is very hard though. Yeah, boat pose, it can be very hard. That's true. Maybe you should teach someone. I'm telling you, teaching will make it easier. No, I'm just teasing. Yeah, no, certainly there's so many challenging poses. I have a lot of aspirational poses that I would like to reach. I'm hoping that when I'm not skating 10 hours, 3 hours a day, certain poses will be more accessible, because the tightness in our quads and our glutes from skating, I feel like my yoga is just like compensating for that, but it's not, I'm not making as much progress as I would like to.
I'm thinking like advanced tree might be hard at the ends of a skating day. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's all tough, but no, it's been a really interesting journey, and it's just a never-ending practice, never-ending journey to learn those same lessons over and over again. And so it's been great to teach. It's great to have you guys supporting that journey for me as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And it was very sweet. Your ice dance partner, Zach. I wanted him, because I didn't know that you were a certified yoga instructor. I
Yeah.
actually approached him for yoga, and he said,
Oh,
"I'm not a yogi."
I'm
No.
not a yogi. Yeah, sometimes he'll say, "Oh, I'm doing something kind of like yoga," and that's the thing about yoga. It's like it's been so commercialized, and that's great. Like it's bringing the practice to many people. But it's true that like in workouts and common things that you see on Instagram, you see a lot of things that kind of, you could say, come from like traditional yoga poses. And so he'll say, "Oh, I have this flow. It's kind of like yoga." And then he'll go, "I'm going to call it yoga inspired." And I was like, yeah, that's good. Yoga inspired. It's not quite the same kind of thing, but no, it's great. It uses a lot of the same principles, and, moving and breathing is good no matter what.
All right. Well, thank you, Madison. And unless
Thank
there's
you.
anything else, Zach teaches us the poses and explains why we are doing them so wrong.
Yeah. Zach's pretty particular. He's a good guy, though. I haven't taken his classes yet. He keeps saying, "You should take my class," but I'm a little bit afraid.
Oh, wait, you mean he doesn't start his day with you doing the activation?
No, we each do our activation. But there's something, when you're partners and the partner tries to teach you, that's also like a good practice to just have your own practice. But I'm a little afraid because he's always like, "We could do lots of good ab and shoulder exercises." And I'm like, "Yeah, I have my own already. Thank you."
Well, I see Jazz Pants is laughing over there. She
Yeah, right?
took Zach's class and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I wasn't ready for those arms. I didn't
Yeah.
know that Yoga Inspired had so much arms."
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta see it. Yoga inspired for a man who also can bench press 80 in each arm. Like maybe his yoga inspired is, maybe not the same thing I'm doing. But.
Well, we enjoyed having both of you, but
Yeah, right?
I especially love your yoga class. And there's something about your voice too. Like, we never get to hear you really speak when you skate, but it's very, very calming and just perfect to lead us through the whole yoga journey.
Awesome.
So, thank you so much.
Of course. Have a good night, and we will see you Thursday.
Yes, at 6 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.